Alex,
Hi, hello, Michael. Good morning, good afternoon, good
good
evening to
afternoon, good
everybody.
evening,
Good
good
afternoon to
morning.
you.
Yeah, good to see
How's it
you.
going? How
Good,
was your
good.
weekend?
Weekend was good, not so eventful. Oh no, actually, I went to visit a friend and we did some archery in his backyard, which
Some
was cool.
archery, all
So,
right.
so because it's always hard to find places where you can actually use bow
Shoot
and
people?
arrow. No, not people. We just shot a target, but it was fun, so I really enjoyed that. So that
Yeah,
was good. I had not seen him for a while, and
that's nice.
we did proper outside, distanced, COVID
Yeah,
conform chatting. So that was good. So the kids upstairs discovered some wooden toys, so I hope it's not too loud when they are
so
when
far,
they're
so
active.
far, no. Yeah.
Um, by the way, there was someone giving us feedback that the audio quality from my side was not so good last time. So I hope it's better this time. I changed the microphone setup a little bit. So please, folks on the stream, let us know if it's okay or if there are any issues with that. As such.
So far, it sounds all right. So
Cool.
that's
Sounds
good.
good.
That should be
Nice.
good.
How was your weekend, Alex? Did you have
Was
any
good. No,
snow?
no
Did you go
archery.
out?
For me, I did that once, and then I had blue. How do you say, hemorrhages all over my arms because
Yeah,
the
there's
the
actually
thing
protection.
always.
There exists
Yeah, yeah,
protection, but actually you should fold out your arm when you do this. So then
yeah. I
it's kind
did
of
it.
technique, right?
Yeah,
So
well, there is.
it's all about technique.
It's probably wrong how I did it, but it was fun. They had these little actually animals or with rubber or something where you can target practice. So it was quite interesting. My weekend, other than that, I I finally got to spend some time with my NASA space shuttle Lego set, which I
Oh,
have
nice.
for I must admit I think almost half a year, and I quite didn't get to it. But
Oh,
yesterday I had some
cool. You
some time, and I
put it
got the
together. Super,
the baseline ready, so
super.
it's getting
Today is
there.
actually an important point in space history. James Webb will make it to Lagrange point two. So today is the final few kilometers of ascendance, and
That's
then
true.
we'll be
Yeah.
there. And so, if you don't know where to look, there's something called Where's Web. If you Google for Where's Web, there's a site from the NASA, actually a page from the NASA. It shows you exactly where it is, how far it's gotten, what was the last operation that they did, and so on. And I've been watching that for all of January, kind of to see the progress and everything. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that. And that was very nerve-wracking as such to watch kind of all these difficult operations that they did, like 178 individual operations that had to go right. So every one of them would have kind of busy built a telescope.
Yeah.
So good time for space research today, I guess. And then it's another
Yeah.
6 months of collaboration, I think, until summer when
Yeah,
we
I
can see the
actually don't
first.
know. I don't know when the first picture is supposed to be arriving, but that's gonna be
Yeah,
that's gonna
sometime
be
in
cool.
summer.
Sometime summer. Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so I can actually paste the link into the chat just for folks that so it's 99.79% of the way. So there's 18,000 miles or 3,000 kilometers left to Lagrange point two from the James
Okay,
Webb
so that's
Telescope.
basically
Almost
that's
there.
almost there. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
1.5 million kilometers gone actually.
Wow, that's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, cool. But
Yeah.
today we want to talk
All
about
right.
other things.
Exactly.
Not actually space. We should do a
Let's not
space
talk about
episode
space, but we
sometime.
might be talking about space in one of the next sessions. But today, actually, no. Let me quickly go here and share my screen so you get all a overview of what's going on. So again, yes, welcome everybody. Uh, use chat if you have any questions, if you want to let us know anything, if you have anything else you want to share with us. Hopefully you type it in. Um, and if nothing comes to mind, just type where you're from. That's always also nice. Yeah. So with that, hands on. The plan today. Quick recap of what Neo4j AuraDB free is. I'll give that. We'll pick a data set. If you have a data set you like us to explore, if there's anything coming up you think this is nice, this would be interesting, and you don't dare venture in yourself, ping us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, Twitch, wherever, email, and let us know. And then we developed this together, Michael and I. We kind of asked some questions. We kind of think of what's a good query to write and what kind of model we want to develop for it. We develop that model, we load and query, and then we dive into it a little bit. What is Neo4j AuraDB free is free version of Neo4j AuraDB, which is a graph database in the cloud offered from Neo4j. It has a few limitations, but it is similar to the sandbox you might have known from earlier. It's limited to 50,000 nodes and 175,000 relationships, so that's plenty to get you going and to give a start in terms of a first try and get some initial feelings how the product works. You have access to Neo4j Bloom and Neo4j Browser, which we will. I don't know if you show Bloom, but definitely you'll see Browser today. Bloom is going to be more the visualization aspect, and Browser is more the query side of things. It's going to be free forever, so it stays with you as long as you like. That's the main difference between Sandbox and one of the main differences between Sandbox and Neo4j AuraDB free. Sandbox only lasted for a couple of days. This is with you as long as you like it. If you want to try it out yourself, go to this landing page. I will post a link in chat in a second, and then you can try it out yourself, start your own instance. You just need to register for it. What are we going to do today? The topic is NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. That's been all about the internet the past year, I think, but heated up towards 2021 for sure. If you look on the internet for NFTs, you find all kinds of funny things. I found these two, which I liked a lot. They are quite interesting hype. I'm not so sure what to think of it and what to do with it in to be honest with you, but we'll discuss it a little bit. We find out what's going on, and then we go into the into our data. Any points to add, Michael?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I saw a tweet today which actually said because everyone is spending their cryptocurrencies now on NFTs, that's one of the reasons that the prices for the cryptocurrencies actually tank right now. So on the other hand, many of the NFTs that we can also see in the data sets are actually not impressive pieces of art or so, right? So some of them or many of them are just really doodles or simple things. So I think if I look at like some of the drawings that my kids do at school, they're actually higher quality than many of the NFTs that I see out there, right? And
but they're not digital assets, Michael. That's not how it works.
But they're unique. You can't. Yeah, and then the other thing that was kind of weird is that many NFTs actually have no real protection kind of attached to them.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's one thing.
That's kind of there's no hash, there's no cryptographic hash as such of the actual content of the image. You get a hash for the URL, but the URL is not the artwork, right? So it's basically the URL, and you can change the URL, you can point it to somewhere else, you can put the art somewhere else, and that's kind of the only thing that you buy is an URL, which is not even in domain or something like that, which is actually worth something. But it's kind of really weird. I think it's one of these kind of scam things that people.
To me, it sounds a little bit like it. I mean, I don't mind paying. Obviously, I don't mind, and I'm happy to support artists. And if I pay them money for what they do, it's all good.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I'm happy to pay for digital assets as well. It's
exactly for
perfectly
songs or
perfectly
movies
fine
or anything, right? So
exactly, but
artwork, right?
this seems very strange to me to make a digital asset as a kind of a unique item, which it just isn't, because you can copy it easy.
Yeah, I guess where I can imagine it would be interesting if I mean you played a lot of video games, Alex, right? And computer games. All these kind of special loots that kind of appear in roleplay games, right? So there's one special item that is dropped somewhere that only exists like once in the whole game or something like that. I could imagine if items like that would be sold as NFTs or so, right? So you get this kind of mega armor or special
that
magic spell or something like that, where people spend a lot of money actually already, right? And they sell them on eBay and so on. So those I can imagine as like really unique items that also have some worth for the buyer, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And but or perhaps like Fortnite decorations or fashion or whatever, right? So which is kind of unique and exists only once in the game.
Yeah,
That's kind of makes more sense to me, but perhaps we see also a merger of all this kind of stuff together. I guess that's also where I see like the metaverse coming in, probably more bringing the game world closer together with the real world, and then the boundaries blur a little bit.
it's blurring a little bit together. Yeah, it's if it makes sense, I'm all for it. If it doesn't make sense, or if it's just stupid to make money out of it, then I'm not really a fan of it. But
pyramid schemes otherwise.
Everybody to their own, I guess. So if you're a big NFT fan, don't don't.
Or you can explain to us.
Or maybe maybe we don't get it. I mean, that's also possible. Maybe I don't quite understand what the point of it is. All of it.
Yeah. Otherwise, some hi to folks in the UK, in the US, New Jersey, to Germany, and there was a question actually: can we have multiple databases in Aura? So Aura works not like Neo4j on-premise or Neo4j desktop. They create multiple databases within a DBMS, but you would create a new Aura instance to say so, right? And so there's only one free instance. So the other ones are then paid for. So you would kind of have to create Aura Pro instances if you need more than one as such.
Exactly.
Cool.
But in general, yes.
Yeah.
No problem
So,
to create more
and
than
with
one.
that, I think we can go into data today, right? And there's a lot of data actually, and it's some fun stuff in there as well.
Yep. Yeah, we can.
Cool. Let me share my screen. This one. I hope you can all see that.
Yep.
So shameless plug. If you have missed any of our past episodes, they are all available on neo4j.com and YouTube playlist as well. And we have also a bunch of articles on Medium about them as well. So if you're interested, catching up on stuff. Last week we had Data Importer. Week before we had Hamilton. So there was some really good stuff before. And if you want to catch up on those, please do so. Otherwise, so this tweet here came out November 30th, sometime middle of the night, and I was still up like at 3 in the morning or so, and I saw it and thought, oh, this really looks like it's a graph, right? So, and they talk about like the study of 6.1 million NFT trades was published, and I looked at the study, and they said basically they also published their data set as well, which is of course really cool because many papers don't publish their data and you have really hard time finding the original source for the data. So if you follow the link here to the study, here's the paper publication, and here on the right side you can see data availability, and if you click on that, it gets you to this link over here, which is from the study, and you have like the Python scripts that are used for fetching the data and for cleaning up the data, and there's this data API CSV file. That's the 6.1 million rows of transactions of NFTs, right? So the report goes into like very deep into kind of how do these trade networks work, who's buying them, who's selling them, how do the different platforms work. So there's a lot of detail here, as you can see. But we want to look at this aspect, kind of the network of NFT trades, right? And for that, we want to import the data into Neo4j and Aura and see how far we get in that. Of course, you can only scratch the surface here. If you have other ideas, you want to do more, feel free to ping us, reach out to us, share on Twitter or somewhere else what you've done with the data set. And that would be really cool to learn. So, so after kind of spending the night back then on this, I kind of got the data kind of cleaned up and imported. And so I sent this tweet like 9 in the morning or so. So I spent like 6 hours overnight working on that, fiddling around with the data a little bit. And also using data importer tool, so which we'll also use today as well. So which is really cool. And then I shared the data and my tweet with our friend Tomasz, whom we've seen doing a lot of amazing blog posts and articles. And he actually turned it into an towards data science article with like more exploration of the data set. And we'll follow some of his queries post import and also follow the data model that we kind of derived together. So that's what we gonna to play. And then we have like queries that we can run on top of the data. So if you want to check out Tomasz's article here, I'll also paste it into the chat as well. So just to go back to that. So for today, because as Alex said, AuraDB free has a little bit of a limit. We take a subset of the data. So I just go to Aura, say create a new database, select AuraDB free, call the database NFT. I choose Belgium West and a blank database. And then I click on create database, and it will in the background go ahead and create my database. I'll copy my password here. That's important. I'll just paste it here in my terminal. No need to keep it around. So for the data API CSV, so it's 3.8 gigabytes uncompressed, so quite a lot of data, and it's actually, where do I have it? Can also look at it. Yeah. So it's 6,700,000, no, 71,000 rows. If you just count the lines of the CSV, you get to 8 million, but there are lots of descriptions with multi-line entries there as well. That's why it's a little bit different, right? And so what I did is I used XSV, which is this kind of CSV tool that I've been using quite a lot, to extract only data from January 1st, 2021. So even if you look at the months of data, it's like between 500,000 and 2 million trades. So it's too much for us. But I just looked at a single day, January 1st, 2021, and got like 5,000 rows, which is nice. And then I kind of just put it into a CSV file over here. So we have this one single CSV file. And to make it easy for you, I also put it on GitHub already before. So if you want to play along, there's the data importer the NFT 2021-101 CSV that you can grab from here. And we'll get to this data importer file later on. Okay, that's our starting point. So Aura is busy creating our database in the background. It takes 2 to 3 minutes. And now we can actually look at what the data looks like. So we can just add our file here that we just created. And you see it has ID token, transaction hash, seller address, buyer username, image URLs, crypto price, the type of crypto that was used to pay, price in US dollars at the payment date, collection market, date time updated, and collection and category. So that's kind of basically what you're also seeing here in Tomasz's data model, this one, right? And so what we're going to do is we just use data importer to create our data. So we can start with the NFT itself. Then
do you want to show the CSV before?
Yeah, that's kind of the first line of the CSV. We can also look at
here we see it. Okay, yeah.
So we can actually on GitHub, I'm not sure if it's too large or if it actually shows. Might be a little bit too large. Let's see. Yeah, it's too large. But we can look at here. I think there was a show or something like that. Table. NFT 2021. And then so we see basically contract ID, ID token, transaction hash, and so on. So it's a lot of hashes. Here we see the URLs, the purchase amounts, things like that.
Okay. We see a seller, we see a buyer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay. But we see this also here in the data importer tool. So if you go to dataimporter.graphapp.io, you get to the data importer tool, and then with browse you can add your file from your local drive. So here we now have an NFT. So we have two options. So either we do like one by one. So we basically could say we model as we go and map the data as we go, or we could say also we do the model first and then add the data to it. So that's kind of up to us. So then we have here a transaction, and we point it this way, and this transaction is for NFT. And now we could already start mapping our things, right? The transaction has a buyer and a seller. So this is the buyer. We actually call them all both trader for the reason that the buyer and the seller can both show up as a trader, and we want to have only one entry in the database for each of them. Right, so we don't want to have someone who comes as a buyer as a different node than when in second time he came in or they came in as a trader.
So they're basically defined by the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a sold relationship and a bought relationship for the two traders. And we can also afterwards we'll also add the additional buyer and seller label in the database. It's just not in the data import tool. And then we have a category and a collection. That's actually all our data model. So, and if you look at this, this is in category and this is in collection. So that's basically our data model, which is pretty straightforward. And that's the same as Tomasz had here, right?
Yeah.
So, and now we basically just take each of these nodes and map the file to it. So let's start with transaction. We take the file. So it's all the time it's the same file, right? And then what do we need for the transaction? We need the transaction hash. We need the price as in a transaction as well, right? In crypto and US dollars. And it's also, I think, the market where it's sold. And then the date time updated seconds. So these are the ones that we want to put on the transaction. And then for the price, we convert them to floating point numbers. So the price in crypto and the price in US dollars, we convert them to floating point. And so the date time currently, we can't convert them because they're also not in ISO format. So we need to post-process the data after import. And what's really important is we must pick an ID property, which is our transaction hash for the transaction. So you see the transaction gets a little blue check mark, so it's all good. And then we do the seller. So we use the seller address and seller username here for the seller. And what we're gonna do is we change this actually and remove the prefix, because in our database we just want to have it as an address and as username, because because we want to have only one entry for a person and not two different ones if they are a seller or a buyer.
Yeah.
And then we also need to select the ID again, which is our address. And now we could already map this relationship, which is basically from trader is our seller address to transaction hash, right? And for the buyer, we do the same. Add from file. What's really nice is you see already what's been already mapped. So you see kind of how you make progress.
So they get this little icon.
Green, yeah, exactly, the green box.
That's very good.
Which is really nice. So this is our buyer. And we select the ID again as an address. And then for the relationship, we map this. So we map the buyer address to transaction hash. Right? So that means right side is already done. Now we take our NFT, which is kind of the biggest part of the file that we want to map. So it's the ID token. Smart contract actually probably should go onto the transaction. So the image URLs, I think only in the first two, there's some useful data. And then the name and description. You see, for instance, for this row, it's empty, so it's not very well maintained. And permanent link. That's, I think, what we have. And our ID property is the token ID. And then we can also map between transaction and token. So this is now also checked. And I said that we probably want to add the smart contract to the transaction, because that's very likely on the transaction itself.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last bit that's kind of left is the category, which is super simple because I think there's only one category field here.
Category, yeah. Looks like there's only one. Yeah.
This is also our ID property, and our mapping is again ID token to category. So we got this as well covered, and then our collection is in the same file, and it's basically here the remaining stuff. So collection, unique ID collection, collection cleaned. And I think we just choose collection. Oops, sorry, collection is. It's not so important what we choose here. I think the data quality is not really great when it comes to collections and categories. So, but it's also something that you can fix afterwards if you wanted to.
Thomas has made a comment. NFT should have the collection cleaned ID, which is a bit counterintuitive, but it actually consists of collection and token ID, as the token ID can be the same in various collections.
Okay, the NFT ID should be a collection token ID. Okay.
The NFT should have the collection cleaned ID.
This one here. Okay. Okay, so we use this instead, collection cleaned, which we then also need to fix here. Thank you, Tomasz. Unique ID, no, not unique, but collection cleaned. This one. And then we probably also need to change it here, collection cleaned. And for category, we also need to have collection cleaned here.
It's okay, now he corrects himself. Oh no, sorry, he says it's unique ID collection.
Okay, easy, no problem. We can, this one.
Yeah.
Unique ID collection, so we pick this one.
Okay, we
move
the other one again, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Unique ID, that's the advantage of using the mapping tool.
Yeah, that's super easy. Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have to go into X number of surface statements and would have to.
And it just removed all the check marks when you just deleted this one field. It removed it across, so it's kind of very.
Yeah.
You cannot mess it up as much.
And you can also see kind of does it map here, right, as well. So
yeah,
that's also good. So category, collection, all check marks are blue. Super. And over here we also see that all the fields have been mapped except for the last two image URLs. I think they're not so.
They're probably not so important. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we have. If you want to save this progress, you can either export the model as a JSON file or the model and the CSV file as a zip file. And that's what I also put into the data folder here. So we probably need to update this to what Tomasz told us, because I think what I did this morning was probably not correct.
No, so but we can upload. We can upload the
updated
this one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that later. But what's really cool is you can then import the zip file, and then you can basically get the CSV and the mapping in the data importer, which is really cool. So you can then just click run, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. So basically, I can open the website, download the import, the zip file, and import it from there, and then it's
exactly.
It looks the same as you see it here on Michael's computer.
Exactly. So we have now our data importer, and we just need to add the right connection URL. Here's our password.
Now we answer a question from Sudipta, how to access and how to connect it. So
and here's the connection URL to our Aura database. So we can just click on copy here and paste this in here. And then if all goes well, and I click run, we should see in a few seconds. So here it starts progressing. And then if it's done, it takes only a few seconds.
Yeah. So maybe quickly. Oh, here it goes. Okay. Yeah.
So we see the results basically. What are the nodes that have been created? NFT transaction, trader twice, category collection and which relationships have been created and how many of them and how many properties have been set. So you get all the details basically. And you can also show the queries that it used or the statements that it used to create the data as well. So you can also take this and put it into your own scripts, for instance, if you want to as well. Cool.
So maybe if this was a little bit quick, how to do it. So if you go in AuraDB or your dashboard and you decide kind of which I mean, people maybe Michael's screen is always a little bit different. Yeah, exactly. It's a good screen because you cannot have more than one database except if your name is Michael Hunger. Anybody else will have only one AuraDB free instance. And then you have this overview, and then you see the connection URI, which you just need to copy from that screen into
icon, exactly. And this is what you copy here into that says host.
Yeah.
And then the password that you hopefully saved when you created the AuraDB database.
Yeah.
So I pasted mine here into my terminal. So I can just copy and paste it from here.
Yeah, you need to. You can change the password as well in the dashboard from AuraDB, but you need to remember either way. If you don't remember,
have to have it once because you can only change it within Neo4j itself.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. So but at least you need to remember it and save it once, and then after you did that, you can change it. But if you ever forget it, it's you have
to open a ticket or destroy the database.
Destroy the database, exactly.
But you can also open a support ticket here, and then they can also help you with the reset as well. Okay, and now we are logged into our database. So we opened Neo4j browser, which is here and open with Neo4j browser, and I logged in with this password that we just saved. And now we see here in our database, it's 10,000 nodes, 20,000 relationships, and we see category collection, trader, NFT, transaction, and the relationships.
So if we do the schema visualization, then you should see something that's very similar to what we just designed in the
exactly. So, and then style reset. So this is nicer. So we see basically exactly the thing that we had before, right?
Yeah.
So just the traders one node instead of like two metadata nodes here, right? Cool. So we have our data in the database, and the only thing that we need to do now is a little bit of post-processing. So I mentioned already that we wanted to set the buyer and the seller label on the trader node. So if I click on trader here, we have some nodes that are basically sellers and some nodes that are buyers as well. Oh, this is actually interesting, right? So this is a transaction, and there are like 3 sellers for this. This is really weird. Okay. Interesting. Anyway, so let's assume I imported this correctly, and we can check about it later on. So we find a trader, and we say the trader where exists a sold relationship, right? So there's a relationship type sold, and those are our sellers, right? So find all the traders that have a sold relationship. They get a seller label.
You add basically another label to the...
Exactly. Now it kind of created a new label here, which is seller. And if I click on those, then these should only be ones that actually sold something. And then we do the same for board. And those are the buyers. Right, so we find our traders again, and those that have a board label, board relationship, at least one, get the buyer label. So that's 1,700 labels. So we have now also buyer label up here. Okay. And so if I run this again, it should also show the seller and buyer additionally as well as additional labels besides the trader. Okay, super. And the other bit of post-processing is basically on our transaction. We have our datetimes currently just as strings. So if you click on that and you hover over this entry here, you see that it's a string because we didn't convert it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we can do is basically we can update them to be datetime entries, basically. Right? So we can say set n dot datetime updated equals datetime of replace, and we need to turn this into ISO format, which is missing the T here in between. We replace n dot datetime updated, the space in between with a T, and we do the same for the other field, updated seconds. So basically, it needs this in ISO string. So 2021 or 101 T, and then the time basically.
So the space will be replaced with a T. This is what you're doing now.
And then we pass it to the datetime function, and it creates a datetime data type basically. So and it updated 3,700 properties now. Okay, and with that we can actually look at some of our data. So for instance, we can look at how many transactions do we actually have in our database. Return count star 1,800 transactions. And how many NFTs do we have? 5,000. So we also see that the same NFTs have been sold and bought multiple times. And so for the same transaction, we had for the same transaction, sorry, for the same NFT, we have multiple NFTs. No, for the same NFT, we have multiple transactions.
Multiple transactions, yeah,
Exactly.
That's been,
right. So what we actually can see is we can see how often has an NFT been basically part of a transaction, right? So we can actually return the n, comma, and then the size of how often it has been in part of a transaction. Order by degree descending. So we just get the degree of the node and then return that and limit, let's say get the top 20 or something like that, right? So we see them, so the top one has been sold 25 times on a single day. Oh, interesting.
That's a lot.
It's probably because of this.
Available
for 24 hours, so it's probably been right. So that's
you can click on the image, yeah.
Yeah, we can actually click on the image. So I don't know.
Hopefully it's fine.
Okay. You know, that's what I mean in terms of like what kind of level of complexity is sold for $4,000, right? So it's I think real artists will be really crying if they see this.
Yeah.
My cousin is an artist and he spends like months on a single picture and then he sells it for, you know, 2,000 euros or something like that and makes really a living. And then you see stuff like this being sold for multiple times, right? So yeah, so it's
how do you burn and I don't get
yeah, they probably throw away
a USB stick and then you burn the USB stick.
Yeah, or the encryption key, the private key or something like that. Like then the key is kind of removed and then you can't access it anymore or something like that. Right. So when we basically see, does it have a name or something like that or a description? It's not a name. And not name.
Name, yeah, there isn't. The
So
Cactus NFT newsletter.
I just wanted to see kind of which ones.
Yeah, exactly. That
like
makes sense.
25 times, 16 times, 11 times, avatar models and things like that. So it's really invalid to do not buy. Okay. Some tickets, stuff. Okay, so that's kind of how frequent this is. What's also interesting is if you look at transactions, kind of what's the volume. So this is kind of data from a single day, right? So which was actually January 1st, so it was probably also a really low day in terms of you know, everyone was still tired from
hangover.
New Year's. Exactly. So what we can actually look at is how many transactions, but also then what's the value of the US dollar prices basically, right? So if we say we sum up the n dot price US dollar, limit 50 or something like that, right? Oh no, that's the total, sorry. We wanted to have the total price. So the volume of the single day is $500,000 of a slow day in early 2021, right? So $500,000 in sales of NFTs on a slow day in 1,800 transactions. So we can also see what are actually the highest.
Yeah, exactly. Can we just see who's
return
or what?
So we can actually see the NFT, and then for NFT. So we see our transaction for which NFT it was, right? And let's call this T, so it's easier. And we say return NFT dot name, comma NFT dot link, permanent link, comma T dot price US dollar. And then we can probably also say T dot currency, crypto, order by price US dollar.
I think you need to do price crypto, because crypto will just give you the name of the crypto it was traded in instead.
Yeah, but I don't know anyway what the I just wanted to see which cryptocurrency they use.
Okay, yeah.
So let's see. So we have, there's no price USD on those. Why is there no price? Oh, some have a null price. Interesting. Don't ask me why. And okay, then you should probably say where exists. Where exists. Oh, where. No. So these are only things that have a price actually on this. So let's look at the. Let me put a link last, otherwise it's kind of so long. It takes up all the space. So you see that some stuff has been sold for $65,000, $33,000.
CryptoPunk was very.
Yeah, so let's see.
Ethereum 88.
Okay, that's something that my 6-year-old could probably put together, or 4-year-old or something.
Well, that's art for you, Michael. You know that's.
Oh, sorry. Right. So it's really, really interesting. I don't know. Right. And yeah, so it reminds me of the art that I have on my animated clock wall thing here. Right? So it's
hope you didn't pay $65,000 for that.
No. But it's quite impressive to see kind of what kind of stuff is sold for. I mean, this is nice, but $33,000 is still.
Yeah, exactly. What is it? $33,000 nice? I don't know. Yeah.
And especially it's been also sold and resold, and so there could be also like just market stuff where you buy something, you know that it's getting more valuable, and you just want to cash in on the difference.
Trade.
It's like trading stocks,
shares,
right? So oftentimes, shares
yeah.
also. So what I wanted to do now that we have the data in the database, actually, I wanted to look at some of Tomáš's queries. So some of those are not so applicable because we only have a single day's worth of data in here. But so for instance, the one query that he has here doesn't just look at the total volume that we also looked at, like the $500,000, but also on the average price. So we see the average price is actually $300, which is quite a lot of money for an artwork, a digital artwork, right?
Yeah, when you think of 1,800 transactions, that's not too few, and then 280. So that's the average. So yeah, that must like we just saw. I mean, $65,000 for one. That's probably probably that is the high point, and then a couple probably for sure for lower, but 280 is a high average.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Tomáš had also an interesting thing where he said, let's look at transactions that had a price of more than $1 versus less than $1, kind of like the cheap ones and the expensive ones. And actually, only 31 transactions were less than $1, right? And
wow.
1,800 were more than $1. So it's all more high.
Can you change that to let's say 10?
can look at 10, and still 1,600 are more than 100.
Okay, yeah.
And then 100, still 1,300 are more than $100, right? So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we can also look at statistics. So, for instance, you can say, okay, what's the minimum average? What are the percentiles for things like that? So we can also things like this. So we would see the statistics. So the min price is like $1 and a little bit. And then the maximum price we already saw 65,000. We saw the mean, and then the percentiles. So actually, the 95th percentile is still 1,200.
1,200, yeah.
Around, right? So it's a pretty high price here. Okay, let's look some of the other things. Which NFTs were sold at the highest price? We already looked at this, right? So Tomasz had a full data set, so there were some more and more expensive ones.
But still
right?
the
So
CryptoPunk.
Yeah, still the CryptoPunk.
Seems
but they also have one CryptoPunk sold for 750,000 or 7.5 million. Actually, 7.5 million. Right. So
is that? But so that's what is that?
Right. So it's like
US dollars.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing we saw earlier, or is that a different one?
No, it's from a different day.
Okay.
Because you have only this one day, and so it's a different one. Right? I'm not sure if that's.
But you have the URL. Yeah, exactly.
We can look at the URL if you want to.
Can we see that?
Yeah, but
oh wow!
Similar
I totally see that. I mean, comparing to the other one,
7.5 million. Yeah. Now you know where to invest the money.
I changed my career now.
and so you can also look at who's been involved in which transaction. So, for instance, if you look at our thing that we had here, like the CryptoPunk name, this one. So we may say t.name equals this, and then so we see, oops, transaction. What's that the name?
NFT.name.
Yeah.
Do you have?
Oh, t.name. Sorry.
nn.name. Yeah.
So we see kind of these buyers and sellers were involved in that, and this was the date and this is the price. So sometimes you have also multiple buyers and sellers for the same thing, like the one NFT that got sold and bought multiple times.
This is just
like
money laundering.
16 times. Where did we have this one that we saw history of his statement here? Where we saw which NFT has been sold. This one. So if we take this name instead for our last query that we had. So we should see multiple buyers and sellers basically for this one, right? So because it's been sold and bought
yes.
times, right?
So then we can see how
see them. Exactly, and then we could also see them as a graph, right? So we could also say return everything, and then we can look at the graph actually and say here connect result nodes, and run this again, and then we see basically this is the NFT basically. This is the seller. So the same person sold it X number of times, and then other folks bought it as such. So perhaps it's the artist. I don't know. Perhaps that's the artist.
Not see you later is the this is the actually NFT.
Yeah, that's the NFT. That's the permalink here. 61 owners. Oh, interesting. So you can sell the same NFT to multiple times to multiple people. Interesting. So here, see.
No, maybe 61 owners is the total ownership. I mean, so maybe you have it and then you sell it again, and then so that's why it goes.
So the John guy seems to be the owner, the creator.
The creator, yeah.
And then we have like the 61 owners, and we would see them here. You see Hans, Castor, Desaltor, and some of those names we also saw.
I see. Okay, so maybe then there is more than one item of this. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So maybe okay. So they limited to I don't know how many, and then
probably
people were able
like
to buy it.
So that's like limited edition or something like that.
Yeah. Mm.
Interesting.
Yield farming,
So,
Olga says. Yeah, that's
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And then you can continue average costs of NFTs in a certain collection. I'm not sure how many collections we have in our data here. Let's see. So in the CryptoPunks collection, average price is pretty high. It's like $25,000, $26,000. There are 3 NFTs in there, and so on. So for the whole data set, this is a little bit more
This
insightful,
makes it, yeah.
that you can see which collections actually produce highest value. We've already seen some of the CryptoPunks examples, right, from us and from Tomasz. So CryptoPunks, these things that I can put on my digital display here are. I should have put one of those.
Yeah.
Should I see if I find it really quick? Let's see. 1 second. Search. What was it? CryptoPunks, right? CryptoPunks.
Yeah, that's what it was called. Yeah, at least that collection.
Search. Oh yeah. Let's see. This one.
Oh,
Okay.
Real life.
You see it?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a
now,
little bit.
now I got all the CryptoPunks on my.
Oh, now you see them all. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's $65 million.
Yeah. So I put it in a safe after
Yeah.
this session. Okay, something interesting that Tomasz found when he looked into this is there were some null hashes, and it seems that the null can always be a creator, but it's also something like a def null. So basically, if you sell to a def null address, then you basically destroy the NFT, or then you basically trash it, basically, right?
Okay.
And so you can actually sell it to a null address, and then you could send an NFT to the null address to effectively delete the NFT. So,
Okay.
so here also had some of these null addresses in here. I'm not sure if we have also null addresses in here. Where t.address equals the null address, return t. Yeah, see, we have something called a null address here, and then we can see how it's only board 1. Okay, so that was probably one that was destroyed or so. I don't know. Interesting. So, and what NFT was this? Another CryptoPunk. Interesting. Which one was this one? This one, the pirate.
The pirate punk. Yeah, okay, I see.
Okay, no idea. Anyway, so, and then you can do more analysis, collections. You already looked at this. Which traders executed the most transactions? That's actually also an interesting one. Both buying and selling transactions.
And then you
so
basically see, yeah.
So there's a trader with a 0 username. So we can, instead of coalesce, what we can do is actually we can concatenate the username with the address, so that then it's more obvious. So this is someone who has no username but this address. They sold 253. This person bought 52. This person. So you see that they're either on the selling side, and they are probably creators or artists, or on the buying side, like this person here, who bought a lot of stuff and never sold one. And this one has more like 17 bought, 5 sold. It's more like a trader than probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can also do a limit 50 or something like that to see what else we see here. 0, 18, 17, 0. Yeah, they're pretty biased in one or the other direction, right? So there's rarely one where
2, but we only have 1 day. So
that's
probably what we have to
but
keep in mind
4, 5 is another one who is sold and bought. But it's on the same day, right? So on the same day,
yeah, it's very active.
9 trades here, for instance, and this one has also 9 trades on the same day. So it's like an active market basically on the same day. Real-time trading in some way, right? And then transaction costs, traders with high volumes. That's also interesting, kind of where you look at the volume, not the amount of, or the number of transactions that they did, but how much money they spent as such, right? So let me.
So you look at buying price.
Buying price and selling price, and the sum across all of these purchases, right? So
what's
was
the
our
optional match here? What does that do?
Because they could have sold and they could have bought. So it's not, if I just put in a match, the ones that have a bought volume of 0 would kind of not be found here.
Mhm.
And that's why for them the query would not return anything. And if you make it an optional match, that's kind of they could have bought and they could have sold basically. And that's why it's
Okay. And we
optional, right?
basically
So
check both.
if I
Okay.
make this a match, then many of these 0 ones will not show. Then only ones will show that actually had both,
Mhm.
basically, right? So then you only see the ones that have both.
I see. Okay.
And if I make it optional, then optional on the sell side, then we see the zeros here. And if I make it optional on the buy side as well, then we also see the zeros on
We
the
see
other
both.
side.
Okay, so we can see everything. Okay. Mhm.
And nowadays you could also do this with an subquery, and so you could also say something like call with T, and then
That's the 4.4 feature.
that's this 4.4. No, that's actually in 4.1, 4.2 feature actually.
Mhm.
So where you basically do it like this, so then you don't have a optional match because the call is executed here, and then it returns the sum, and the sum could be 0, and so this should still return the same, right?
Mhm.
So you nowadays, if you want to, you can also replace the optional matches with subqueries like this. I mean, I like the existing way more. I find it more readable in a way, but
The optional one.
mhm.
Yeah, it's a
I
little
mean,
bit
this is
easier.
also valid, right? So,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
no, totally.
right.
Yeah.
But that's a
Is
different option.
is that performing quicker than the optional match in terms of
It's
resources?
probably could be a little bit faster because this is only executed once for this, and with the optional match, you need to aggregate it together again to get
Mhm.
down the cardinality for the query.
Yeah.
Then.
So for AuraDB 3 doesn't
Okay,
make a difference, but for bigger data sets, maybe
yeah, exactly.
it's worth doing it.
And then here is basically looking at profits, basically between people that sold stuff within small time frames. So how much profit did they make in the difference between buy
Okay.
and
So
sell, basically.
yeah,
So if you run this, let's see. We don't see anything, probably because of the price.
yeah, maybe you should lower the percentage.
So if we have for one and more than 1,000, so sold times sold amount, bought amount. So they made $5,000. Not bad,
Okay.
right? So they bought it
Mhm.
for 366 and sold it for 5,100.
An
So
hour
that's
later. Yeah.
some
Okay,
nice,
that's not so bad.
result. So here we have some more. 350, 33. Yeah, that's more than the long tail, but it's still on a single day, right? Making how much is this? 15% on a single day.
It's not bad.
Not bad, right? So you can even compute the percentage basically on the
And probably tax free.
price side. Yeah, it's all outside of
Outside
financial,
of everything, yes.
right? And then Tomasz looks a little bit into graph algorithms, which are not available on our free DB free.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
we can
But
answer that.
so I found this quite interesting that we could use basically the data set, took a subset, imported it, and then could run the same queries that Tomasz ran here on his local instance in the cloud. And then you could share this with someone else, with your friends, and say, hey, do you want to have a look at this? And you see, we could have got a little bit more data in even. So this is 20% of nodes.
Yeah, we could have
that
maybe
was
checked a
deleted.
week or something, but
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, but
it
it's
doesn't
actually
matter much. I
pretty.
mean, this is just for
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting if you look at, for instance, the month of January 2021, right? So the whole month on the whole CSV. So this kind of looks over the whole CSV for the
okay.
month of January. So that's already 150,
That's already too
200,000
much. Yeah.
transactions, right? So that's quite a lot. So we could probably do like the first 10 days. Yeah, that's 42,000. That could probably work.
That would have worked, yeah.
Right?
But
yeah. Really interesting to see, and also that you can then kind of follow up with data here. I also started to write already the article for this
super.
as well. It's not done yet, but if you want to take a sneak preview, so it's already in the GitHub repo, and I'm gonna put it into the into Medium as well. So I try to kind of cover all the things. Oh, one last thing that we can look at is kind of Bloom, because this should be also quite a nice data set for Bloom in the last minute.
Yeah, and we'll obviously add username. We obviously add the links to the blog post and to the GitHub repo in the description. Yeah.
So, and Bloom connects to this. So you see buyer, seller, trader, category, and so on. And now we can say NFT transaction, and for instance, load this whole data set into Bloom. So you see already that there's one transaction here, which is connected to a ton of NFTs.
Oh yeah,
right?
Is this one we looked at before?
Alien Worlds. Actually, it's a good question.
No, I don't remember looking at that.
Not resolving. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, but then you also have other ones, and then you could, for instance, say, okay, I select here a bunch of, and say, okay, I want to expand these. Oops, I want to expand these two, and then you can basically drill into them as well, and look at things like who's been buying what, which collections, and so on. Right. One thing that I quickly want to show in Bloom here is you can actually style things. So for instance, if you say rule-based styles for the price, so how expensive this was in US dollars, we can say, okay, we make it a range for the size. And then you can say, okay, the small transaction volumes get 2x, the other ones get 4x. And then if you look at our graph, then you should see that now the transactions have different sizes, right? So this one is pretty big. These other ones are small. And similarly, we could style, for instance, the color by market or something like that, right? So if you have like the market or so, then we can style the different colors by market or so, right? So then we can say, okay, add another one.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if market was in here. Yeah, market is.
Yeah, market is there. Yeah.
And then we say just unique values. Apply color, and then everyone gets, like of the three markets, gets a different color. And then you can immediately see, is there a relationship between size of the transaction and the market color, for instance, right? So we can clear my scene here and just pull transactions. Then you would already see.
Perfect. Yeah, now we
nicely,
see. Yeah.
Certain markets actually have more expensive transactions, and this blue one here actually in what's the market? Decentraland has only low volumes in comparison. Right?
Yeah,
so
this other Sea World thing, that's is the big one for NFTs.
Yeah, OpenSea. Yeah, that's also where the links resolve to. Oh, by the way, this was the one that had the many.
Okay,
so
it looked like a magic
card token,
card,
like a magic
but
card.
it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's another game.
I wonder if they have magic cards as NFTs. That would be kind of fun, but they are all owned by MTG, right? By Wizards of the Coast. So probably not.
Probably not. No.
But similar. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. That's it. I think. That I wanted to show today. Any questions from someone? I haven't looked at the.
Cool. Thank you, Michael.
questions.
I didn't see any questions. The only question was how to access data importer tool. I think we showed that. We gave a little tutorial. So if you want to try this yourself, you can do so.
You can also watch last week's session where we got more into detail of the data importer. So there's here in the last recording, and also the Medium blog post is now up as of today. So we also have like a detailed example with 3 different data sets looking at that as well. So feel free to have a look there as well. So we can probably put it into the chat as well.
Cool, thank you. nobody
Super.
corrected us about our strange assumptions on NFT markets. So I guess that means we were correct all the time. if not,
so.
if you watch this on demand and think, oh my god, what are these two buffoons talking about?
Send us a comment.
Post it in the comments.
And
exactly.
I still got all the crypto.
Exactly.
punks.
If you bought a crypto punk, also let us know. And yeah. With that,
Cool.
we'll be back next week. There is a quick information for all of you watching. There is another session on Wednesday, Neo4j live session on geodata, where I will be joined by Veronique Gentner from University in France, where she will show about geospatial data and geograph. So if you have time on Wednesday, please join me there. Until then, see you.
Tomorrow we have the AMA, the office hours.
And tomorrow there's Neo4j Aura office hours. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions on your AuraDB, so if you try this now and then you struggle with something, come back again tomorrow for our office hours.
Cool. I hope you liked this. Thank you, Alex. This was fun.
Thank you, Michael. This was a fun data set. Exactly. Had a good time.
And thanks to Marsh for doing all the hard work of putting everything together. That's really amazing.
Yeah, that was also helpful.
Cool.
Well then, thank you all for joining. Thank you for watching, and take care, everybody, and see you soon. Thanks, Michael.
Bye.